Morning, happy Monday. Here we go, October 19th, getting closer to Halloween. And put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Mrs. Munoz. Today I will be talking to you about our character counts for the month of October. So for this month, for October, we're going to be focusing on respect. So here are some ways that we can show respect. We can do this at home. We can do this in the classroom, virtually as well. The first one is the golden rule. Remember that rule we talked about at our last meeting? Treat others the way you want to be treated. The next way you can show respect is by using good manners. Use polite words like thank you, please, you're welcome. And like we talked about at the last meeting, don't use hurtful words. Next, you can be considerate with your words and your actions. Think about how others might feel. Be tolerant and accept differences. And lastly, we have be appropriate. Respect personal space. Remember, we all have our own bubble. Practice good social etiquette. Deal peacefully with anger and disagreements. For this week, we will try to focus on being appropriate and dealing with anger and disagreements peacefully. We know that we all have different opinions and we have differences, but that doesn't mean we can't work together and try to solve them in a peaceful manner. So who knows, maybe we have more in common than we think. So for this week, we're going to try to focus on finding things that we have in common and working on our differences in a peaceful manner.
And continuing with that same theme about respect, we want to make sure that we remember that we have to apply these rules in our digital citizenship. So I want to talk about your rules of netiquette, which means the etiquette for the net, which is the internet. Whenever you are online, you need to make sure that you respect the opinions of your classmates, boys and girls. There are times when you will be listening to each other, having conversations. And sometimes if you disagree, it says, if you feel the need to disagree, do so respectfully and acknowledge their valid points. They have their own opinions on the issue. So whenever somebody says something and you think, well, that's wrong, or I don't agree with that, you can disagree because that's just a normal part of being, of having conversations and being in the classroom. But you do it in a manner that is respectful, and you do it in a manner that doesn't hurt somebody else's feelings. The middle section says, don't write anything that sounds angry or sarcastic, even as a joke, because without hearing your voice, your classmates will not know you're joking. And that's the issue with being online sometimes, is that when you write something on the chat or when you text something, you really can't tell if you are writing something in a manner that is angry or in a manner that is making fun of someone. So you got to be careful in the way you write things and respond to others. You don't want to come off as being, angry at someone or that you're being disrespectful. So you have to make sure that if somebody does say, you know what, that kind of hurt my feelings, that you listen and you acknowledge that and be mindful of the way you respond to others. The last point says, don't badmouth others or call them names, even if you disagree with them. You can disagree, but don't mock the person. And this is very important, boys and girls, because many times when our initial reaction when we hear something that we don't agree with or that we don't think is right is to call somebody maybe names or to say something in a very angry manner. Well, no, don't do that. That's really what we're trying to work on this week. We're trying to work on making sure that we work on ourselves and understanding that, you know what, not everybody thinks the same way, but we all do have to have respect for each other and our own opinions. And that's what we're going to be learning a little bit more about right now as I hand it over to Ms. Markosian. Remember, boys and girls, everyone is entitled to their own opinions. If you disagree, be respectful. Ms. Markosian.
Thank you so much, Mr. Martinez. So boys and girls, our story today is called The Fort by Laura Perdue. It's about a boy and a girl who have different ideas about how the fort in the woods should be used in their play. Let's watch and see if they can resolve the conflict.
The Fort by Laura Purdue and Adelina Lirias. As the prince strutted towards his castle, he daydreamed about the royal feast he was planning. He imagined music and food and fun with friends. But when he crossed over the moat to begin decorating, the prince discovered that the castle was not as he'd left it. What's this? A useless treasure map scribbled on my invitation? The prince paced around the great hall and stepped on an eye patch. Oh no, a pirate has invaded my castle. The prince tidied up and rid the castle of all things pirate. He wasn't about to let a rotten pirate keep him from hosting his royal feast. The next day, as the pirate paraded toward her ship, she daydreamed about the swashbuckling voyage she was charting. She imagined overflowing treasure chests and adventures on the high seas. But when she walked up the gangway to ready the ship, the pirate discovered that someone else had been aboard. Arg! An invitation to a silly feast written on my treasure map. The pirate clomped around the galley and tripped on a crown. A pompous prince keep her from sailing away to find treasure. The prince returned the next morning, only to find that once again his castle was not at all like he'd left it. That dreadful pirate has made a mess of everything, he cried. Late that afternoon, the pirate discovered that yet again someone had been aboard her ship. That puffed up prince came back, she bellowed. When the prince arrived at his castle on the day of the royal feast, he yanked the tablecloth off the flagpole and smoothed it down on the tabletop. Then he heard a voice outside, a pirate voice singing a sea shanty. Blow me down, the pirate hollered. What are you doing on my ship? Nonsense. This is my castle, and if you don't stay out, I will put you in the dungeon, declared the prince. He stomped onto the drawbridge to defend the castle. The pirate seized her sword from him to stop the mutiny. Never. I will not abandon my ship. If you don't leave, I will make you walk the gangplank. You can't. I'm planning a royal feast for friends. The prince waved the invitation. No pirates allowed. The pirate grabbed the paper, and I'm going on an adventure in search of buried treasure. No royalty allowed. Who wants to live in a stinky ship anyway? Shouted the prince. I'd rather go to the moon. They both eyed the fort. Aye, she said. A voyage into space? On a spaceship? He asked, imagining being the mission commander, guiding their spacecraft and orbiting Earth together. Yes, on this spaceship, she agreed, imagining being the chief scientist, leading space exploration, making new scientific discoveries. Close the hatch. The two astronauts prepared the spaceship for launch. She inspected their space helmets. He adjusted their oxygen hoses. She tested the robotic arm. He studied the mission instructions. Mission control, ready for departure. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The end. The Fort. Can a pirate and a prince learn to share? By Laura Perdue and Adeline Illyrius.
Thank you so much, Mr. Martinez. Boys and girls, hopefully you were able to see that although the pirate and the prince started off having different opinions about how to use the fort, they found that they had something in common. So ask yourself this. You can ask yourself this and perhaps have a conversation with your friends today in class. How do you deal with conflict when you disagree with someone? Are you respectful even if you don't share the same opinions as your friends? Okay, let's continue. So I do want to remind you that our Kittredge Tales newsletter will be out at the end of the month. We want to give all of you an opportunity to contribute. You can write an article, an opinion piece, poems, arts, submit a recipe, write fictional stories, or give us tips on how to be respectful. It's really open-ended, as you have seen in the past. Keep in mind this month's theme of respect, and hopefully you can turn in your pieces by October 27th. And finally, our announcements. Again, October is Filipino American History Month. Our Kittredge Tales will be due on October 27th. We are planning a school dance with DJ Martinez on October 30th. That will also be our Spirit Day, where you can wear a costume. That's it for me. Have a great day. Kittredge Kangaroos, go ahead and join your classes. Your teachers are waiting for you. So switch off and we will see you next week. Have a wonderful day.
Take care.